Hey everyone, Eric Graham here with Innovate Real Estate, and I got a couple of special guests here with me today. I'm excited to speak with them. I got Ryan and Sean, the owners of Palmetto Coast Home Inspections. Part of the reason I'm so excited to have them in here today is they're the oldest vendors that I've been working with since I first got into real estate. So I've been working with them for quite a bit, and excited to chat with them a little bit today. So Sean, Ryan, you guys have been down here in Myrtle Beach for a little while now, right?
About 20 years.
Okay, yeah, little while. Ryan, yourself?
Yeah, moved here in 2008
Okay.
from Michigan, where
Yep.
you're from.
Go blue.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
And been here ever since.
Okay, so you came down, I came back in '08 myself, so 15, 20 years, we've all been down here just about the same amount of time of things. Um, well, Sean, first, I know you went to, CCU is kind of what brought you down here originally, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what
Yeah.
brought you to CCU? Coastal Carolina University.
Honestly, my father's a contractor, and the area was booming and growing, and he brought some property down here to build some houses, and I came down with him to check it out and found Coastal, and
Gotcha.
the rest was history.
Just didn't want to leave the beach from there.
Yeah.
Didn't want to get back to New York,
Nope.
correct? Understand. Right. And Ryan, you came down in '08. What brought you down here originally?
So yeah, I was up in Michigan going to college, and I actually came across the fire department up there in my local town.
Okay.
And I got into the fire service, and then up in Michigan, it's pretty hard to get a full-time career firefighter job up there. So I went on this website called 911 Jobs, I think, .com, and Myrtle Beach was one of the listings that was up there, and came down with a buddy, tested, got the job, and I guess the rest is history, as they say. But yeah, that's what really brought me down was the fire department.
Okay, cool.
And I really didn't have any intentions of staying. I figured I'd come down here, get a few years of experience, move back to Michigan. But as you can see, that's not the case.
Well, and I can speak from experience. Michigan winters comparison to down here, it's a little bit nicer. I'm sure New York's probably similar with that as well, right?
Definitely is.
You guys have been down here for a while. You guys have started your families and stuff. I think all three of us have 2 kids. Am I correct with that? You guys both have boys and girls. I only have girls. But how old are your kids? What kind of stuff are they into down here?
Yeah, so I have a daughter, Sophia. She's 11 years old. And a son, Nolan. He just turned 10 January 30th.
Oh, cool.
So we just had a birthday for him. So Nolan, he's into golf and flag football.
Okay.
And my daughter's, she does the acting at Myrtle Beach Act.
Oh, cool.
Walk Pottery. She's actually there right now. And then she was doing soccer, but has switched to volleyball.
Gotcha.
So she's getting into volleyball.
That age is when they can make all those changes and adjustments and all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, she made the change right after we paid for spring soccer, and she decided she wanted to do any more of it. That's fine.
Yeah, that's par for the course with that age, for sure. Sean, tell us a little bit about your kiddos.
Yeah, I got my daughter's 10 years old, and she likes to dance. She dances competitively with Myrtle Beach Dance Company.
Cool.
And then I got an 8-year-old son who's in soccer. He's all about the soccer, and that's all he wants to do. Doesn't want to do anything else.
Hey, if you know what you like, that's all that matters.
That's he sticks with it.
There you go. Very cool. Well, you guys have been down here 15, 20 years. What kind of changes have you guys seen in the area? I know there's been a lot, but from your guys' experience, what changes have happened to the area that are most notable to you guys?
I think it's changing a lot from a tourist destination and resort town. I mean, it's still a tourist destination, but it's become a lot more family friendly.
Yeah.
It's attracting a lot more people. Obviously, it's attracting retirees, but you're getting a lot of young families coming here too. It's just a little more affordable compared to a lot of the country, and can't beat the weather. So
right. Very true. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, just to kind of echo what Sean said. When we first started the business, I felt like we were kind of doing a lot of retirees coming down. I just know in my neighborhood alone, when we first moved in there was a lot of 55 and older. It came across as a 55 and older community,
but wasn't really.
It wasn't. But more and more families of our age have since moved in.
Mhm.
We even see it through the clientele that
Sure.
we deal with. So I would definitely say that traffic is a little more congested. I wish,
A few more people,
yeah,
understandable. Yes.
but hey, that's what's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, awesome. Well, speaking of getting the home inspection company started, just first, what got you guys together, and then what came up with the idea of starting Palmetto Coast Home Inspections?
Yeah, so Sean and I both work for the Myrtle Beach Fire Department, and that's where we really got to know each other. Um, was hanging out outside of the fire department even, and became
Sure.
really good friends. We were in each other's weddings, stuff
Cool.
like that. But we were both working second jobs, both starting families, and our second jobs, I was working transport ambulance,
Okay.
which
Gotcha.
I'd be gone for 12 hours at a time after a 24-hour shift.
Hmm.
Sean was, doing pressure washing and all this other stuff. And we both
Doing all
was,
the construction work you're talking
yeah,
about.
Electrical work.
Yeah.
electric. Yeah, he was working for electrician. And then we both decided, we're kind of like, I'm tired of working for other people,
Sure.
and we both bought multiple properties ourselves,
Hmm.
and come across inspection reports, kind of figured out what they do, and we're both like, well, we can do that,
Sure.
and um, came up with a business, and something that we were proud of, and and knew that we could handle.
Hmm. Gotcha. Well, you guys have obviously done a great job with that. It's one of the things I always love when I'm talking with my clients about having you guys do the inspections. Is you guys are two firefighters. You guys know some of those things to look at. You guys have a different view of things, at least in my opinion, in comparison to a lot of inspectors out there from a safety perspective. So I do always love hearing that for sure. As you guys were getting the business started, you were still working at the fire departments at that point in time, correct?
Yes.
So just tell me a little bit about that first couple of years, what it kind of was like working at the fire departments, doing the inspections. Tell a little bit about those first couple of years.
It took a little bit of time to get everything rolling.
I can understand that.
Yeah, first year was a little slow, and then we probably close to tripled our business by year two.
Oh wow.
And I think by year three we were hiring guys. So
Okay.
we got two inspectors that now work for us.
Awesome.
Just the amount of inspections we were getting in across, and it's just a lot more
Gotcha.
people moving here, a lot more inspections, a lot more real estate sales. So everything just increased, and it grew pretty quickly for us. So it was definitely a good problem to have.
Gotcha. What do you think from year 1 to 2 really helped grow your business so much?
So when we first started, we were actually getting referrals from another inspector who was a friend of ours.
Oh, okay.
And we were kind of just taking the stuff that he didn't want or he was too busy for.
Sure, understand.
They were utilizing things like Angie's List, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But we got a lot of referrals even from like the selling agents. They would see our report, it get sent to them, and they'd put us in their the referral list. And
Mhm.
next thing you know, we get phone calls, and we're like, "Who? We don't know this realtor," and then we find out it was from a job we did on our listing.
Gotcha.
But like as far as like catapulting us, we got in really well with a lot of different brokerages. The Tremblay Group and other places where they were, other brokerages where they're kind of starting out and growing themselves and taking on more and more realtors. We kind of reap the benefits of that.
Sure.
It's just any business you get your foot through the door with a good company,
Mhm.
you can benefit as well.
Yeah, maintain the business instead of trying to go out and get new business all the
Yeah.
time. But I think that's pretty cool. You guys were getting referrals from listing agents after they saw your work. I mean, that's about the highest form of praises you can get of, hey, we didn't work with you on this one, but we saw how well you did. Now we want to use you. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, sure. And as realtors, move brokerages and companies like that.
No, realtors move brokerages? That doesn't happen.
But I think it's a testament to the relationships we built. So and so left this company with the other company, and they take us with them basically,
Right.
so to speak. And if now we're in to that brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost kind of exponential in the form of, we were in this brokerage with this realtor as a referral. Now they've broken off, gone to another brokerage, and they spread our name around
Mm-hmm.
amongst their realtors.
Yeah. I know
So
I've passed your names along to a few different people, to say
yeah,
the
so
least.
it just that's how business rolls, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the first business Sean and I have really owned, so it
Gotcha.
was a learning curve, but I think we've done
I'm
pretty
sure you
well.
guys
Yeah,
made no
figured it
errors
out.
along the way, right? It was all
No,
smooth sailing and all of that stuff for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, nothing major that I could think of. It, knock on wood, it kind of has been kind of smooth.
All right. Well, I'll knock on it again for you guys, but that's awesome. And once again, I mean, just you any business out there, you provide a value, a service out there, and you're going to reap the rewards of it. And that obviously is a testament to what you guys are doing, to say the least. And kind of leads into the next question I had of what makes you guys different. What do you think it is? Maybe some of those selling agents that started to utilize you. What made you guys stand out?
For starters, like I said, we have a couple guys that work for us, so altogether there's 4 inspectors with the company.
Okay.
That's a big help for a lot of people. There's a lot of home inspectors in the area that are just kind of a one-man show.
Mhm.
So it definitely helps having 4 guys. We can get out there quickly. I've had some people call me and be like, "Hey, this inspection kind of fell through the cracks. Can you get there like today or tomorrow?" And we jump on it, and we're able to get there.
I know I've had to call you guys a couple times
It
for
does
quick
happen,
closings
yeah.
and things of that nature
Yeah,
before
short
you.
due
Yeah.
diligence, they need it done in 3 days. We are usually able to accommodate almost everybody. And probably the second biggest thing that I see a lot of people coming from the agent side of things is that they tell us that our report is really easy to read.
Yes.
So for somebody that doesn't have that construction knowledge and background, like for the potential buyers and for the agents,
Mhm.
it just makes it really easy, laid out, a lot of pictures, easily describe what's going on. So they just know what they're getting into when they're buying a house.
Yeah. I always tell my buyers when we're going into talking about getting the home inspection done, I don't think I've seen this otherwise. Your guys' inspections are a minimum of about 30 pages if it's a free and clear house, and you still got the pictures and information. And then if it's more than 30 pages, and we got a couple of issues that we're going to be dealing with, but just the baseline of it, it's going to be roughly that 30 pages. The other thing, I'll just as well with your reports that I love is the verbiage that you guys use with it. You make it very easy and understandable to read. Seen a lot of other inspection reports where it's what is the exact issue, and you're trying to call the inspector and they're trying to remember and all that stuff. You guys do a great job with the verbiage that
There's
you
a lot of
put.
information in the report that's not, like, everybody thinks that the report's going to be just all bad,
Correct.
But we put a lot of information in there as far as their appliances, age of appliances,
Mhm.
life expectancy for those items, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
And then also with our reporting system, we just had an update probably about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago. You're able to take what we call the
Mhm.
summary report, which basically has all the bad stuff, the
Yes.
deficiencies. And rather than send, your report to the listing agent, like a whole, like Sean said, a lot of it is more informative
Mhm.
than bad stuff in our reports.
True.
So you're able to take that summary report in a PDF and just send them that report. So it's
Communication between the realtors is now
yeah.
easier.
Oh, yeah. So it's basically a repair list that is itemized and has pictures, arrows showing exactly what we're talking about, where it's located.
Mhm.
And then the other thing too, I think that separates us is not that we recommend doing this, but we have the capabilities of if you were to call us at 8 a.m. So long as we can get into the property, so long as we have good communication with your buyer and they're pretty prompt on getting the stuff back that we need.
Mhm.
I mean, we can have that inspection scheduled, done, and sent over to you, before 2 p.m.
And that's very impressive to say the very least. Once
Yeah.
again, don't normally try to do that.
Yeah,
That's
please
not
don't.
the ideal
Please don't, but
scenario.
we do have the capabilities if needed. Just because there's no DocuSign, there's nothing. If your client's in Pennsylvania, all we do is send them an email. They click the link to our website. They fill our contract out on our website, hit the submit button, and it goes straight to our email, and then they pay online, And so long, like I said, as we get the showing time confirmation from the listing agent,
Got to have that cooperation.
oh
Yes.
yeah, we're good to go, and we can send the report before we even leave the driveway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that definitely is a big benefit, especially with the shorter due diligence and trying to negotiate out some of those things that can play a very big role. Now, this is always a question with realtors are always talking about of who is it that you're actually working for. I just want to hear from you guys when you get assigned to work for or to do a home inspection. Who is your guys' client in that scenario? Is it the agent? Is it the person that's the purchaser? Is it the seller? Is it the listing agent? Who is it that you guys work for?
We are 100% working for the buyer.
Okay.
So we get our referrals from the agents almost probably 90% of the time. We get some people just find us on Google.
Sure.
And they just find us that way. But yeah, we are 100% working for the buyer. We're looking at everything in their best interest to make sure they have all the information they need to make the decision for probably one of the biggest, most expensive purchases of their life.
Right. Yes, and that's why that is so important. That's why I bring that up. Is you guys are working for the buyer. It's not as much as I refer business to you guys. Might not like every single report, but it's you guys are giving me the factual information to help guide that buyer into. Sometimes it is we do have to walk away from a scenario because X, Y, and Z issue that's found in the home inspection. I just always find that very important of making sure we know who's working for who and what. You guys don't work for the agents. You guys don't work for the sellers. It is for that buyer and making sure that they have the information so that they can make a educated decision.
Yeah, I mean, we're not only morally, obligated, we're legally obligated.
Sure.
And really, I know you guys get a copy of the report, and we have it in our contract. Put your realtor's name down. You want to get a copy, but the report is really only for the buyer or the seller if they're doing a pre-listing inspection.
True, that is very true. You do have those sometimes.
Correct. So I think you've been in meetings, where we've said that our interest is for the client, not your
Yeah, I've been in those meetings. Not everyone always liked when you said that, but I appreciate it.
Yeah,
correct.
Our interest is for the your client, not your commission.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to mention, like we've had the same insurance company since we started, and if we erred on the side of the realtor opposed to the client, I'm sure we would have been dropped.
Yeah, your insurance bills might be a little bit higher, to say the very least. Well, tell us a little bit about your guys' inspection process, kind of the step that you guys go through from the time you get it to putting that report together and send it off to the client and the agent. Just tell us a little bit about that process.
So the software we use is actually an app based on our phone.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that actually.
So we're actually doing the report while we do the inspection.
Okay.
It's all broken down, and we go room by room and check everything. To put it simply, what I tell everybody is it's a complete visual inspection of the home. So we start typically on the inside of the home because appliances all take a long time. So we run the dishwasher, we run the washer, dryer, all those big appliances that need some time to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we start all that and get that going. I typically start the AC, whether we need to cool it down or wintertime, depending on the time of year, which way we're going with it, try to heat it up, cool it down.
Sure.
Make sure all that's running. That all takes probably the longest amount of time. And then while all those items are running, that's when we check everything else in the home. We go around, with the flashlight checking for any kind of moisture staining in the home. We're checking all the doors, windows, make sure everything's opening, closing, locking, none of the glass is broken. We're looking as far as all electrical components, so outlets, your lights. Again, all your appliances are turning on. Like I said, we run the AC to make sure you're getting the correct temperature differentials, everything's cooling and heating properly. We're looking at the home structurally, from both inside and outside the home. We're looking at whether it's a slab, a raised beach house, on crawl space. So we'll get in the crawl space, we get in the attics.
All the fun stuff that you guys love there.
Attics get really hot.
Attics are fun right now.
Yes,
they're really
I'm sure.
hot this time of the year.
Sure.
But that's going to be our best place to see any kind of roof issues. We're going to see if there's moisture staining on the roofing sheathing. We're also going to see any daylight coming in. So you go into a dark attic, even a nail hole is going to shine light in it during the day.
Sure.
So you're going to spot that right away. outside of the home. We're looking at all the roofing shingles, make sure everything's intact on the roof, all your siding's intact. We're looking at the, if it's a foundation has a slab, we're looking at that, make sure that it's not cracked. One issue that we see all the time with the slabs is that they put the plumbing pipes too close to the edge of the slab, so when they pour it, and then that concrete cracks away, and then those plumbing pipes are exposed.
Gotcha.
So because they're
Okay.
exposed, we don't get a lot of cold weather here, but there is that potential for pipes freezing or
Sure.
the pipes being damaged, even from lawn care equipment or anything else on the outside of the home. So it's very thorough. We go through everything basically that you can see in the home. It usually takes about 3 hours to do everything.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
3 hours and a minimum of a 30-page report
Yeah.
with pictures and a summary of things. I think that's just about all you can ask for in a home inspection. So awesome. Thank you for that. And you just touched on one of them, but what are some other common issues here in the general Myrtle Beach area that you guys see on a consistent basis that people should be wary of?
Well, not necessarily weary of, but something we always see, you see in reports, are the dreaded foggy windows.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens is, I was just talking to a guy, it doesn't matter what brand you really buy, it seems, whether it's, Pella, Anderson, some of the nicer windows, or, your big, home builder windows, they always seem to crack over the years. And not necessarily what we're talking about, not cracking. It's not the window pane itself. There's a seal that's in between the pane that holds a argon gas, which makes it energy efficient. So anytime you get some kind of cracking, you will lose that gas, and then also moisture gets inside, which creates condensation, which over time makes it foggy.
Yep.
Now we always check, obviously the windows open and closing just fine, making sure there's no leaking coming through. But that's what we typically find. Almost a lot of reports have it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And that condensation in between the glass panes eventually deteriorates the actual window itself.
Right.
So over time, it just continues to get worse and worse.
Yeah. Is there a certain age of windows where you kind of see that more? I mean, I guess you guys don't necessarily know the ages of the windows.
Yeah,
but
it really depends on the property. Usually what's doing that is what side of the home has exposure to the sun the most. So it's usually not the whole house. It's usually just pick a side where the sun rises or sets, and that the sun beats on those windows all day long. And that's usually where the issues arise.
Gotcha. So something as homeowners out there to keep it weary of is those windows that are getting the most sun over the years are going to be the ones you're going to need to replace in the soonest amount of time.
And those energy efficient windows are actually working, because if you go to some of these communities that are, the houses are really close to each other and they have vinyl siding, you'll see where the sun hits the house, the strongest, and if it has a energy efficient window, reflecting to the neighbor's house, you actually see the vinyl warp.
Oh, wow.
Like there's like a grill or something next to it. There's no pad there. There's no reason why a grill would ever be.
I don't know if I've ever noticed that.
But it's strong enough where the energy efficiency window is reflecting that hot sun.
Yeah.
And just that radiant heat is causing that vinyl on the adjacent house to ripple or deform.
That makes perfect sense. Just never thought of it. I don't know if I've ever probably seen it, just didn't realize exactly what it was. Is there any other kind of issues or things out there that just for our areas kind of a little bit more normal that you guys see consistently?
I'll say shingles, roof shingles, sometimes they have like a 25, 30 lifespan, but you don't really get the 25, 30 years.
Sure.
And that's not necessarily because they're ripping apart or anything like that. It's just, that sun just beats on those shingles. The storms come through, the wind.
We get storms down here?
It loses the granules,
Right.
And not necessarily, you need to replace it right now because there's a roof leak happening, but the integrity of the shingle has, deteriorated, well before that 25, 30-year mark.
Gotcha. But once again, you're looking from the inside part of it to make sure that the leaks are gone. That's just the shingle itself and the wear and tear, which eventually will need to be replaced, but can still have some wear and tear and not need a completely new roof to be redone. Get people that say that all the time. Oh my gosh, we need a completely new roof. Well, let's look a little bit further. We might just need a replacement of some shingles in comparison to a whole new roof. Um, so for buyers that are looking to make a purchase, what are some suggestions that you have as they're starting to look through homes? What are some things that they should be looking for or be weary of as they go through homes with their realtors? And what should realtors also be looking at? I should ask that.
I mean, the biggest thing is, this area really started growing back in 2005.
Mhm.
For the most part, we tell people all their major appliances are 10 to 15 years expected life expectancy. So, excuse me, and you look at all these houses and they're looking at starting back in '05 when things really started developing here, they're hitting that 20-year mark.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, if they haven't been replaced yet, you're getting really close to having to replace all these major appliances. So just the age, like, yeah, your AC might be working today, but if it's a 13, 14-year-old system, it doesn't mean it's going to be working next month. So
Right.
it's, different things that you have to check for. Just, you can't just ask for a new system, unfortunately, when it's working just because it's old.
Right.
But like there's ways around that, people get home warranties and everything else to, overcome those obstacles when they
Sure.
come up with those items. So it's just planning ahead as what you're comfortable with having to repair in a home, ahead of time, because every home, even new construction, is going to have something going on
At some point. Yep.
I don't think we've ever, if very, very rarely, had a home inspection before where there wasn't something on it, even with new construction.
True.
So they have to expect that it's a house and it's going to need something.
You're right.
And over time, it's always things are going to break as you go.
So just the maintaining of the home and just being weary of the things that need to be done on just a normal basis and what life expectancy should have. And then this is more after the fact. Make sure you get stuff inspected afterwards. Have a HVAC person that comes out and looks at the unit at least once a year. I would suggest twice, but at least once a year. Every 10 years, have someone come and just take a look at your roof or whichever it is. Anything else on the buyer side of just being weary of?
I mean, not to stereotype anybody, but if you go into a house for a showing and it's a mess, they're not picking up after themselves. Chances are they're not maintaining their house either.
It's a very good point.
And like I said, I use the word stereotype because typically when we do walk into a house and it is a mess or something like that, we typically find more of the smaller routine maintenance issues that could easily be taken care of every spring or fall or whenever it presents itself.
Right.
But, like I said, if they can't pick up the house for a listing or they know inspectors coming, they're probably not maintaining. They're probably not changing their return filters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say that's a very good point.
So cleaning out their dryer vents, they're supposed to. Very simple maintenance issues
that can turn into very big issues, to say the very least. Gotcha. What about onto the other side? Either sellers about to put their home onto the market or they already have it out onto the market. What are some things for sellers to be prepared for when they have a home inspection once they get their home under contract?
Well, like I mentioned, the little things, I would take care of whatever little things you can, because even though we try not to be nitpicky in our reports, we really don't. The realtor is able to build a relationship with the client over weeks, maybe months,
sometimes years.
We talk to them on the phone for maybe 3-5 minutes, and we don't know how nitpicky they are.
Sure.
So we kind of have to. We're not trying to scare anybody, and we're not trying to be too harsh on the seller or anything like that. But if you can take care of the smaller things that you need to take care of, just take care of them.
Gotcha.
And really though, like the big issues, the big items, you may not know about it.
It's fair.
And that's why you hire us to find them. You may not know that your HVAC unit's not cooling the way it should be. Because hey, it's I set my thermostat to 73 degrees and it's getting to 73, but it might be running a lot longer than it needs to, or a lot harder.
Yeah.
So if we come in and we find the temperature variance and we're like, it's running, but it's not running efficiently. Stuff like that, or your drip pan. How often do people go up to their attics? Your drip pan.
As we talked about, it's too hot. We're not trying to go up there.
Full of water. You had to get an HVAC technician to come and figure out where this condensation is coming from.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just to that point, and I'm sure you guys won't be opposed to this, but it's also a good time or a good thing for sellers sometimes to have an actual home inspection done prior to listing the house. They can take care of any issues. They can be aware if there is any of those big issues that sometimes you don't know about until you have somebody come out, and then you can get it fixed, and you can hand a clean house over to that buyer, and that buyer's confident. And I don't know, from buyers I've worked with in that situation or sellers that have had that done, it just makes that process all the more smoother of things.
And I'll add also that, if the inspector is coming to your house, it's wise to, clear a path to the electrical panel.
I mean, I can't have the garage just completely packed up.
Yeah, move that storage shelf that's been blocking it for the past 5-10 years.
But it shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Right. Just stuff like that, when it comes time to present the report, your buyer may be like, the inspector couldn't get an electrical panel. I don't know what's in there. And
I've had that happen before, for sure.
Don't prolong the process.
Yeah.
If you're selling your house, I'm assuming you want to, clear it as quickly as possible.
Typically, yes.
And then also, you don't want us back in your house, probably. You would probably want us to be there for 3 hours and never be back again.
Right. Yeah. So, because you guys do have to go out and do a second inspection here and there for whether a repair, or you weren't able to get into something, and all of that stuff. So, gotcha. That's awesome. Now, a little more of a fun question. What are some of the craziest either experiences or some things that you've seen in homes in your guys' time in business and home inspections?
I think probably the one that kind of stands out is I had an older home, probably close to 200 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the whole inside of the attic was burnt from a fire. All the roof trusses, everything was still charred. A lot of that wood wasn't replaced. Inside the home, it looked great. They redone it, the whole downstairs, painted. It looked great. And then once you stuck your head up in the attic, I mean, it was rough. It was definitely some concern for structural issues there.
And funny enough, that was actually one of my inspections that we had done, and I didn't walk up into the crawl up space in the attic, and I did miss that during as we showed the home. But yeah, that's funny. That was one of mine. Ryan, anything come to mind for you?
We were talking a little bit prior to this. I'm really bad with memories of
try to just exit those out of your head.
Even with the fire department, people, what's the craziest call? It's just I'm sure there's some funny stories or crazy calls I just can't on the spot recall. But 2 weeks ago, I had an inspection where it was set for Thursday, and then we bumped it up till Wednesday. Got approval on showing time, everything. I get to the property and the door's unlocked. Dogs are out. They're friendly dogs, thankfully.
Thank goodness.
A lady's purse is right by, the entryway. I'm thinking to myself, this is weird.
Right.
So, I'm going to the house. Home inspector. Home inspector's here. Hot dogs. But anyway, I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna find a dead body in the bedroom or bathroom.
Hope that's not what it was.
Yeah, it's early in the morning. I got there at 9. I'm like, somebody's passed out or unfortunately passed away.
Right.
And I'm going through clearing every bedroom, every bathroom, making sure I'm gonna find a body because I'm sure that this is the case.
Right.
It's been approved. They know I'm coming. I don't find anybody. Okay, well, I'm going to continue with my business, do my inspection. And the lady comes in. She goes, "What the hell are you doing?" Well, she didn't realize that we bumped the inspection, even though her realtor approved it.
Gotcha.
Lost communication there. She didn't realize I was coming that day.
Sure.
So here I am, thinking I'm gonna find a dead body or something.
She just comes and gives you a little grief as soon as you're able to finish the inspection that day.
Once we realized what had happened, she was great. I mean, offered me water, coffee. She was great. But
at least it had a good ending to the story in comparison to where you were first leading us down there.
I know I was kind of taken back. I'm sure she was surprised.
Sure.
But,
yeah, that's funny. Gotcha. So when you guys get, as you said, your referrals from agents, tell us, what does your partnerships with the agents look like? What's that mean to you guys?
I think we all, for most of our agents, especially our long-term agents that we worked with for a long time, we all have the same morals and want what's best for the client.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that means the deal doesn't go through because of the home inspection, you know, we'll get the phone call. The agent's going to go back out to the market, find another house that works better for them, call us back up. We end up doing a second inspection for them, and
Right.
hopefully find the right property for them. As things happen for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's something was wrong with the property. We've had the sellers back out of deals. They said they wanted to sell the house, and all of a
Of
sudden they didn't
course.
want to sell the house, and then we're doing another inspection for them. There's so many reasons why a deal may not go through. Home inspections are definitely one of them, depending on what we find. But we love working with the agents that are out there for their clients' best interest and make sure that they get the best house for them. And if that means searching the market again for another house, even though you got all the way to the contract, so be it.
Right. Yeah. Because there's situations out there where I'm sure you guys have gotten some grief over some of the inspections, more on the agent side more than the client side, I would imagine. Just from my experience of things, clients don't always know as much in that regards, but agents can get a little frustrated.
And typically, not to badmouth anybody at all, but
And please don't.
no, I'm not. But this is generally speaking.
Sure.
Typically the agents that do stuff, have used us for a little while, and give us a little bit of grief or whatever, and then they stop using us. It's almost like it's like a relief off us too, because that's the one thing that we are able to do with the agents we do have, referring us, is we feel super comfortable with the whole referral situation because we do know that their morals align with us, and we do know that they know the understanding that, like we said, our interest is for the client,
right,
not your commission.
Yep.
And of all the agents we do hold on to, I think they all pretty much, like you said, have aligned with our morals. And the other thing too, just from the efficiency standpoint, is once the realtor does get a report, like you said, they understand our verbiage, they understand how we write things up.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to answer your buyer's questions without consulting us a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, very few times in the 8-9 years we've worked together that I've had to call up and, hey, what was this situation?
Which just makes the whole due diligence transaction way easier.
100%, yes.
Not to mention, I mean, not saying that you can't call or the buyer can't call. Please call if you have any questions.
Of course, right.
We usually do field less questions from buyers and agents that we have a good reputation with.
Gotcha. Awesome. So what are some things that both buyers and agents alike can do to kind of help your process, make sure you have, a quick and easy of a time getting in to do the home inspection? You don't have people that are not knowing when you guys are coming. What are some things that buyers and agents can do to help your guys' job a little bit?
I would definitely say utilize our email.
Okay.
So
I'm saying I need to do that more. Okay. All right. Can't just text you guys all the time.
Well,
just joking.
Sean and I, have access to the email, so less likely for something to slip through the cracks. Also, if you just text Sean or you just text me, if it's on Sean's phone, I don't have the information.
Fair.
So utilizing the email with a few things, with the property address,
okay,
client's information, not just their phone number, but email as well.
Okay.
Name, phone number, email, and the due diligence date.
Okay, gotcha.
The reason why I say client's phone number and email, there's plenty of times where we come across, we got the client's name, we got their phone number, we got approval, we're all set. I just can't get a hold of this guy, And then at least if I'm able to send a confirmation email, I know they at least have access to our instructions of what we need.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So at least you have multiple forms of communication. It's just not
Exactly.
locked into just the phone, which I do always appreciate. You guys do pick up the phone and call the clients and have you said 3 to 5 minute conversation, but at least you pick it up. It's just not, I sent an email and we just expected you were to see the email and do everything. You guys take that next step, which
we like to actually talk to the people, and I'd say just to kind of piggyback on that. The biggest thing is with the buyers too. A lot of them, we get a lot of people coming here on vacation, looking at properties there for a short period of time, and then they're traveling.
Sure.
But keep in mind that like if you put a contract in, expect us to be calling you and
Right.
and try to call us back, because we've gotten sometimes 2 or 3 days, and then we're calling the agent like, hey, where's your buyer? Because they're traveling and doing everything else. And I know it's hectic, but especially if you see a Myrtle Beach area code on your phone pop up, probably should try to answer that.
Yeah, especially during the closing
Yeah.
process. But that, to your point, that's something that the agents can do. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, be on the lookout. You're going to get a call from Sean or Ryan in the next 24 hours. They're going to set up the home inspection with you. And that is something the agents can do to help your guys' process out and try to make that lines of communication as smooth as possible.
Correct, yeah.
Great. Last thing here, what are some ways that agents and buyers can get a hold of you guys, can find you guys, so we can get you guys some additional business?
The best way to find us is just through the internet. Google us, go on our website, Palmetto Coast Inspections.com.
Okay.
We couldn't get the home inspections.com for some reason that was taken. So
That's ludicrous.
It is Palmetto Coast Inspections.com.
And we'll have that in the link down below in the comments.
And on our website, we're very forefront with our pricing. So another thing that kind of separates us too is you may go on other inspection companies' websites and they have this, that, and the next thing, but they don't show any prices. We show our prices.
It's kind of like that restaurant that you go to where it just tells you what it is.
Yeah.
You just know you're going to get a big check at the end.
Yeah, but the common misunderstanding is we do charge per total square foot.
Okay.
Not heated.
Gotcha.
So there are some questions sometimes like, hey, you're charging me this price. It's only 1,500 square foot. Well, it's heated 1,500. You got to add on another 400 just for the garage.
Right.
And
yeah.
then, if it has a lanai or anything like that, And the reason why we charge total square feet is because we are inspecting the total square foot, not just the livable.
That makes sense.
Not just the livable space.
Sure.
So yeah, and then our phone number, 843-620-1444 is a Google Voice number that we utilize. So if you do call that number, it goes to both Sean and mine's cell phones.
Okay.
And it's going to ask you, it's going to prompt you, to tell your name, which we just joked, prior to this, Sean's usually pretty fast on
he is usually the one that picks up that number, yes.
Because, if a phone number comes on the Google Voice, it doesn't say Google Voice, unfortunately, or anything like that. It just comes in as a number. Mm-hmm. And so when I pick up, it says, you have a Google Voice call from so-and-so. Press 1 to accept. And I think I typically try to listen to see who it is. I think Sean just he goes right to it. New York. So,
that makes sense. I can deal.
So
I can see that.
Quicker on the draw, so to speak, when it comes to that. But yeah, and then also the reason why I say please utilize our email because I think Sean's phone number is listed prior or before mine, mm-hmm. So he does get a lot of phone calls and texts.
Sure.
On his personal phone number, which is fine, but it just doesn't allow me to have access to the pertinent information that I need to, or he may,
And Sean might need a backup every once in a while. Miss something.
I think a lot of times he gets swamped from it.
Sure.
Here I am, just kind of twiddling my thumbs. Like, hey, Sean's like, hey, do you get anything on your phone? No. Here he is, like 3 deep. I'm like.
You guys might need to switch up that number on the business cards or something like that.
I just screenshot what's going on and send it to you.
There you go. Well, thank you guys so much. I think we learned a lot about the home inspections, and I appreciate our partnership that we've had and built over the years and everything that you guys do. And hopefully we can sit down and do this again sometime.
Sure.
But just thank you guys very much once again. Hope you guys all got something out of this, and you guys all have a good one, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.